Haha! Boom! Here I am. Da 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 ba ba. Okay, here I am. Time for another Saturday Scrum. Those of you who have been joining me on Periscope for a while. Hi, Semi, who's in Turkey. Hola, senor, says Brandon. Hello to you all. Taken is in Virginia. Jeremiah is in Atlanta, of course. He's one of the hot sluts there. Merhaba. Oh, Mike Harn is there. First, do no harm. Just kidding. Do harm a lot. Ben is in Colorado. Oh My Effin' Dog is in Jasper, Georgia, Canada, California, France, en français. Thank you, Carl. Bonjour. And then Houston, North Dakota, Baltimore, Fernando's in Houston, Mikey's in Salt Lake, Flosser's in Louisville. Jeremiah says, who put the Harn in harness? Yeah, well, that definitely happens. Computer Geek is in New Hampshire, Neil is in Colorado, Star Guy Grant is in Delaware, and Vin Nolan says, everyone tap the screen for a heart party. Thank you. Well, I see you're all joining me from all over the country and all around the world. I'm so glad you're here. The Saturday Scrum is where I hang out at my house and I tell you how I'm spending my weekend and what I'm doing. I'm in my big boy t-shirt because it pays to advertise. And I am thrilled that you're all here. Now, Romaine, who, my former co-host on my radio show, she is going to be doing her own Periscope in 13 minutes. So I thought I would warm up the crowd and get you excited about Romaine and her Periscope that's coming up shortly. Also to let you know that Romaine and I are going to do a live video chat together on Sunday, tomorrow, at 4 p.m. Eastern Time in the U.S., 1 p.m. Pacific Time in the U.S. If you're in France, you gotta work that out for yourself, Carl. Anyway, we will be doing a Google Hangouts on-air live. You'll be able to watch it stream live on YouTube, but if you have a Google login, you'll be able to actually ask us questions during the Q&A. And Romaine and I will both be on video, so when one of us is talking, the camera will switch to the person who's talking, and then it will go back and forth. So you'll be able to see the two of us at the same time, interacting with each other, and we'll be answering your questions. We're going to spend an hour doing it on Sunday, so that should be super fun times. So much fun. Chris says, still going to Broadway Bears. Hope I can see you and hug you, although I'm going to the 9:30 show. Chris, I plan to go, and I plan to be at the 9:30 show, Broadway Bears in New York City. But Katie was arranging the tickets, and I haven't actually talked to Katie about it recently, so I'll have to ask her and find out. But hopefully, because Broadway Bears is a fantastic show in New York, and I love going every year. So there you go. Somebody says, what happens when you talk over each other? The camera flashes back and forth really fast in the Google Hangouts. You'll see. Neil says, can you tell us why SiriusXM canceled you guys? Honestly, I do not know. They did not give us an official reason, and I can't speculate about their motivations. I mean, it felt very sudden to me. I don't know how planned in advance it was, but it was obviously very disappointing and sad for us. But Romaine and I want to focus on the future and what is next, which is a big part of what our Google Hangouts thing is going to be tomorrow. Tiger says, it's pure BS, and I assume you don't mean butternut squash, one of the many varieties of squash that we grow here. Also, I was playing squash earlier today with the squashes. T.W. Richards says, I don't like the hearts. Well, the hearts tell you how much people like the show. And so, when I'm talking and they like what I have to say, or what I'm wearing, or when I touch my nipple like this, then it goes crazy. So that's just how it is. The computers dispense free champagne when they both talk, says Computer Geek. If only that were the case, we would get so many people to join us. But that is not how it works. Scott says, where's your microphone to blow and tap? Do I need to send one? No, Scott, I have microphones around here. I suppose I could, just have a mic and go is this thing on? So I might just have to fake it that way. I know that's your favorite thing about the show. When I do crazy bits, which we will continue to do. All right, there must be a log jam of comments because all of a sudden the screen went blank. I'm sorry. Now that we get hundreds of people in here, it's very hard to. The chat doesn't always work as well. Shannon says, "Get Romaine to duct tape one up." Let me tell you something. Romaine's Periscope yesterday with the duct tape was hilarious. It was a mess and it was glorious. So you can really see that Romaine and I are not good at technology. So we're really trying here. Chris says, "Help, I'm in Bed Bath & Beyond and can't get out." Honey, you walked in there in the first place. Someone asked how many of my microphones are Mr. Microphones. I'll be back to pick you up later. That's what I say. Dave says you should end every Periscope session by hanging up on us. Well, anyone who watched my Periscope last night knows that it was the saddest end to a Periscope ever, with me trying to figure out how to turn it off, and I couldn't turn it off, and it wasn't working, and it was really sad. That's what it was. Probably the saddest thing ever. But also hilarious, as everyone is saying it was hilarious. You know what? Look, I'm here to deliver the comedy for you. I feel like it's my job. And Shannon says, no, the first Google meetup was sadder. Let me tell you something. I can deliver all sorts of sadness when it comes to technology. Pirates Floyd says, the door shot was priceless. Yeah, it really was. And Scott says, it was just like Skype with Grandma. Look, we're still working out the technology bugs here. Brandon says it was totally on purpose. No, it really wasn't. And I want you to know, as soon as that chat was over, I went and I washed, literally ran a hose up and down the screen because it was too much. Jose says, big boy hairdo, you're twins. Oh, a little bit. Is that me? Okay. See what we got. All right. Well, Romaine's Periscope is starting in 7 minutes. So I really just wanted to give you a little bit of scrum today. It's raining here in New York, and I meant to mow the lawn because it needs to get mowed. And I went outside. I was pulling. I've got a lot of poison ivy around in my neighborhood. And so I was pulling a lot of poison ivy. I was pulling another Mommy Dearest, Tina, bring me the axe, just pulling poison ivy, and I expected to mow it all down with a mower, and then it fucking started raining while I was outside. So, I don't know, the ground may be too wet again tomorrow to mow. Plus, we've got our live broadcast that we're doing, and I want to go and, I don't know when I'm going to be. I may not be able to see Jaws. If I go to Broadway Bears, I won't be able to go and see Jaws. But if I don't go to Broadway Bears, I'm going to go and see the 40th anniversary of Jaws in theaters. Very excited about that. Oh, I'm so torn. This is how it is in my life. I can go days with nothing happening, and then the one day I decide to do something, there's like 3 other things I want to do. 057 says, you're such a mo. I am a mo. I am unabashedly a mo. With my lawnmower. I like to mow, because I'm a mo that mows. Jen says, Jurassic World. I saw it. It's fantastic. I mean, it's a piece of crap movie, but whatever. It's summertime. It's fun. Michelle said, I tried watching Romaine's Periscope yesterday, but it kept shutting off. I'm sorry. That's too bad. Taken says, do you have a car? I do have a car. Style Art says, what time is tomorrow's chat? 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. If you go to our YouTube channel for Derek and Romaine, go to YouTube, search for Derek and Romaine. Go to our YouTube channel. I made an introductory video today. It's only a minute long. That explains how the Google Hangouts work. And it has a link in the description that shows you where to go for tomorrow's live chat. And then you can just save the URL because it's already got a countdown clock that's sitting there. Well, speaking of countdown clocks, Romaine is starting in just about 2 minutes. So I appreciate you all joining me here for our little Saturday chat. I'll probably do another scrum on Sunday too, because you know how I love my scrums. They are scrumptious. And I put my past scrums, the first 2 Saturday and Sunday scrums that I did, on my YouTube page. So search for Derek Hartley on YouTube and like me on Twitter, or follow me on Twitter and like me on Facebook, all those fine things. You're all scrumptious, and you keep that scrum in your mouth where it belongs. I got to go to dinner with Lady Mary, and you have got to watch Romaine's Periscope. She's Romaine 33 right here on Periscope. Switch on over to that right after this. Bye, everybody. Let's try this again, shall we? For crying out loud. Oh my god. Okay, so apparently so many people tried to join the last chat that the app just completely crashed. Well, anyway, I'm happy that you're all here. Chris says, you're too popular. I guess so. Jonathan says, Derek, love you, miss you. How can you miss me? I'm right here. JD says, marry me, Derek. Well, I'm available, and now it's legal. So, a quick rundown. Here in the U.S., the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that there is a constitutional right to marriage equality. Chris in Pittsburgh says, he's mine. All right, well, you know what? You've had many chances, Chris, so if you're going to nail it down, you should have nailed it down. All right. Kim also wants to marry me. Jeez Louise. All it took was a constitutional right to same-sex marriage, and suddenly everybody wants me. All right. I gratefully accept all of your proposals. Please send financial statements immediately. Because, legit, I'm unemployed. Okay, so, anyway, this ruling is not just great because it means that people all across the country will be able to marry, but it is a 5-4 ruling written by Justice Kennedy, who also did the ruling. Chris, my 401k, in answering your question, is as big as your endowment. So our retirement is secure. It's just my immediate future is the problem. Okay, let's talk about the ruling. This ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court is especially historic because what the court said is that there is a constitutional right to same-sex marriage, that gay people are protected by the 14th Amendment, and that is huge because that level of protection will probably mean not just that almost immediately people will be able to marry in every state in the Union, and if you were married in Massachusetts, for instance, your marriage will still be legal in a state like Alabama or somewhere else that didn't have gay marriage before. But because it says that gay people have 14th Amendment protections, which is equal protection, that means that in things like housing and employment, there is now implied protections. And certainly I think that for gay people going forward, they will have more of an opportunity to press a case if they feel like they've been discriminated against as a gay or lesbian person. Now, because it's a same-sex marriage ruling, it's about gay people, that probably leaves transgender people out. And so if you're talking about protections for transgender people, like employment and housing and that kind of thing, that kind of fight continues. It's why, we get very excited when these kinds of rulings happen, and it is easy in the moment to forget that other people get left out of some of those rulings. So, for instance, when the Windsor case came down 2 years ago, those of us who were here in New York were thrilled because it meant that the marriages in the state of New York were legal and that the federal government was going to recognize them. But people who lived in other states, like Utah, which was the first one to rule after Windsor, they were still left out in the cold. So, we were all celebrating in New York and California, but other parts of the country have had to wait the last 2 years in order to get these kinds of legal protections. But the great news is that the gay and lesbian community has taken a dramatic leap forward thanks to this ruling today, for sure, because the scope of this kind of a ruling, which is probably why it was a 5-4 decision, and the 4 dissenting justices each wrote their own dissent. So, can't wait to dig into this. I'm sure it's super juicy. But what usually happens with the Supreme Court All right. Well, let me answer some questions, and then I'll tell you what some of that means. Does this affect the state rulings about businesses being able to deny services? Yes, it does. The short answer is yes, it does. A business can't just on its face say, I won't serve gay people. There is this whole situation of this religious liberty argument of, well, I'm a deeply religious person, so I shouldn't have to be nice to gay people. And that is going to probably be the legal challenge of the next decade, because all sorts of people will try to use their religious beliefs in some kind of public space to try to deny gay people services, for sure. And then that will just end up in court of law. Duchess says, did it say that it takes effect immediately, or can states stall the implementation? Usually these kinds of rulings are fairly immediate. The actions that states take, probably what you will find out is that the states themselves that were parties in this case will make some kind of statement today, and then other states in the Union will basically, over the next couple of days, probably start revealing what their plans will be for making marriage equality available inside their states. And many of them reluctantly, for sure. But this is a very sweeping ruling, and it's part of why it was a 5-4 decision. There are no questions right now, and I assume it's because it's like crazy. Kirk says, they need to read their Bibles. Didn't Jesus wash the feet of sinners? Well, yes, but there's a big difference between washing someone's feet and baking them a cake, I guess. I don't know. Also, our laws in this country are not religious laws. We don't live in a theocracy. We live in a representative democracy. So therefore, religious tenets should not be the deciding factor in terms of what our laws are. That isn't to say that religion can't be a consideration in terms of the laws that we do. You could say, for instance, that having a prohibition like "thou shalt not kill" in the Ten Commandments is, laid a foundation for laws prohibiting murder, for instance, right? So there are certain laws that have in their roots a religious or moral underpinning, for sure, but that doesn't mean that all of our laws stem from the Bible or any other religious text. So the Supreme Court, when they rule, if they rule more narrowly, you can usually get more justices to sign on. If you rule in a more sweeping way, it's harder to get that many justices because you're rolling up a lot of things in the ruling. And Justice Roberts, in a lot of cases, he prefers narrower rulings where more justices join in versus 5-4 decisions that are just, you just barely make it over the line and it's very sweeping. In this case, I suspect that that I haven't read the 4 dissenting opinions, but I suspect that the dissenting justices, some of them will say they would have signed on if it hadn't been so sweeping, if they hadn't said it was a constitutional right. But I'll have to read it to see. But I think that Kennedy wanted to put this to bed once and for all. Kennedy has had a long history with these cases, going all the way back to the Amendment 2 case from Colorado in the mid-90s up until now. And I think that this has been a long time coming. Like 20 years, 19 years since that Colorado case. So there you go. All right, what other questions do we have? Someone just asked if I thought this would make this a major issue next fall in the presidential election. No, actually, I think just the opposite. I think that what you will see is a deafening silence on this issue come next fall. And part of it is because all these states, ask around in Iowa or Massachusetts, and, those were both very early marriage equality states in the U.S., nothing happened. And even in the state of Iowa, there was a lot of upset about same-sex marriage very early on. Some of the justices at the state Supreme Court level there who ruled in favor of marriage equality got voted out in the next election cycle, somewhat vindictively. But if you ask around in Iowa right now, they'll tell you nothing has happened. Nothing in the world of Iowa has changed because of same-sex marriage. And I think that what will happen is same-sex marriage will come to all of these states, and then nothing will happen. They won't even remember or notice that it's there. And so I think it'll be a non-issue. Anthony says, do you think southern states will rebel? No. I mean, I think that there's probably going to be plenty of grumbling. But, no. I don't think so. And mostly because other states have added same-sex marriage and nothing has happened. They talk all the time about how states are laboratories of democracy inside the U.S., right? And so if you're a state like Mississippi that has not had marriage equality, you look at what happened in other states after marriage equality came in there, and nothing happened. So if you're one of those states, you quietly let it go, you put it in, some people are going to bitch about it, and then nothing is going to happen. We've had isolated incidences of people who didn't want to bake a cake or didn't want to be a wedding photographer or whatever it is. And that will continue. For sure that will continue. But realistically speaking, no. That is over, settled, and done. Okay. Jim says, I just looked outside and no fire raining down from the sky. Wow, what a relief. Just cleaned the pool. Well, good, because if fire and brimstone does rain down, you'll probably want to jump in that pool. It will protect you. The way that the U.S. Constitution is now protecting gays and lesbians all across this country. Sam says, crying with joy in Ohio. Good for you, Sam. Everybody should. TW Laughing Man says, San Antonio, Texas already have their new marriage licenses prepped and ready to go. Yeah, a lot of people were expecting this ruling and were probably prepared that this was going to take place. For sure. And I talked to one of our listeners in Canada earlier today where they've had same-sex marriage for, I think, a while now. And I was like, look, we're finally catching up to Canada. The only thing that we're missing is pot. But that's around the corner for sure. Oof. Yeah, if you don't think that marijuana is going to be legal in this country real soon, you're crazy. Tiff says we're celebrating with donuts. Well, that's a good way to celebrate. And as a lesbian, it's appropriate. B. Duchess says, like the Netherlands. Yes, like many other countries that have already had same-sex marriage and where the sky has not fallen in. That's the thing about this, is that whenever rights for people are fought against, like people just having the right to live their life and do their thing, people always fight it, and then they get the rights, and then nothing happens. Like, other people having rights does not take away rights from anyone else. Gay people being allowed to marry in the U.S. has not detracted from marriage of straight people. It's not like the state only allows 10 marriage licenses a year, and now the gay people are going to suck them all up. That's not how it works. It's not a finite resource. So anyway, there you go. Retail James says, this is an important Periscope. Thanks for upgrading to a collared shirt. Let me tell you something. I was basically in my pajamas, and I was like, oh shit. Now that this ruling has come down, I gotta race downstairs into the dining room and put on a real shirt and see what's happening. I should also check the... SCOTUS blog is doing a live blog about what is happening, and so we'll see. Ryan says, my phone is already blowing up with texts about the news. That's great. No one has texted me because they know I'm single, and it really doesn't apply. Trevor says, does this ruling take effect immediately? Thanks for going live to speak with us. Generally, Supreme Court rulings, especially one like this, will essentially take place. I mean, there's there's going to be a certain period of time. There's an expectation that, like a state that has not been issuing gender-neutral marriage licenses, for instance, will need time to print new forms and whatever else. So as long as a state makes some kind of reasonable declaration of we're going to begin issuing marriage licenses in 2 weeks or 1 month, whatever it is, so that we have time to alert our city clerks and whatever else, it's fine. Because really at this point what will happen is, let's say a state like Mississippi decides that they're going to wait as long as possible, right? People who are in that state will be able to go to federal court and make an almost immediate legal challenge to that, and then they'll just get slapped by the court, like, right away. So, realistically speaking, I think that probably within the next 2 to 4 weeks, you will see that marriage equality will come to every single state in the U.S. You know, and states will have some kind of guidelines to manage that. A woman just said that they got married in D.C. and they live in Ohio. So the state of Ohio will probably have some kind of guidelines for recognizing the marriages from out of state. So you'll probably make some kind of filing with the state of Ohio and let them know. B. Pratty says, what a monumental day. I miss hearing you daily. Well, it is a monumental day. And it's a little bittersweet because, you know, I had planned to be part of OutQ's coverage of the marriage equality ruling. I was supposed to anchor their, like, as soon as the ruling came out, like, afternoon coverage and take calls and all that kind of stuff and be down in D.C. And I would have really, really enjoyed that. I mean, I would have. And so, I mean, I'm sad I don't have a job. I'm really sad that I'm not doing that because I'm so passionate about the Supreme Court, and I really would have really loved to sit in a studio and just run calls all afternoon long from people who are excited that they finally have a right to marry. Because what's better than that? You know, a lot of people can't understand why anyone would take a job in the public eye because people just say shitty things about you day and night. That's a big part of the job. But there are gratifying, rewarding parts of it too. And on a day like today, I gotta tell you, anybody who works at OutQ or anybody who works in media who cares about equality will tell you the same thing. That, you know, a day like this makes it all worthwhile. So I'm glad that we're here doing the Periscope thing. Nemikin says, it's still great to hear your reaction and perspective. Well, the good news is, you know, this didn't happen 8 years ago before social media. So, it's much easier to stay connected with us. So I encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Derek Hartley on YouTube, and, you know, like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter because, it will be great to, have you there. Owen says, couldn't you call in to OutQ? I mean, I could, but I'm not going to. You know what? It's their day. They should do their coverage their way. I don't work there anymore. Franklin says, do I smell burning preacher? That's terrible. You know, there are all sorts of people in the South who fought to keep segregation in place, and they fought it bitterly. And it was very sad, and 10, 20, 30, 40 years later, I am sure many, if not all of them, would be embarrassed, or were embarrassed, that that was the stance that they took. And I think that you will see in the very near future that all sorts of people who fought against marriage equality 10 years from now will be sorry that that was their position, and be embarrassed by it. For a lot of reasons. The main one being that gay people are going to get married and then nothing is going to happen. It's very frustrating because when people fight these kinds of things, they're fighting something that has no impact on their personal life. None whatsoever. Jen says, what do you think this will do for the presidential election? I talked about that earlier. Nothing. It won't do anything. Click Trick says it's interracial marriage all over again. I think that it's very similar in that now people think of the idea of interracial marriage being illegal as weird and crazy. And I think that, for sure, hopefully, that's how people will view same-sex marriage 45 years on. The Loving decision was 67, so it's been quite some time. Tony says, did you notice I got on this time? Yay. Yes, I did notice, Tony. I'm glad. I wish the Periscope app hadn't crashed the second I got in here, but I'm glad. D. Foley says, why do we focus so much on love and not fight hate? That's not really clear. The problem is you can't fight hate. People hate, and fighting hate only creates more hate. The only way to combat hate is with love. It's the only way. You can't fight it. If you resist it, it persists. You gotta let it go. People are gonna hate you. Look, I did a national radio show for 12 years. You post things online. There's always going to be some negative criticism. Always. It's a part of life. It's more, highlighted and focused because I'm interacting with a lot more people, but that's how it is. And Freaking Rad points out, as the wise Taylor Swift once wrote, haters gonna hate. Yes. But even still, you can't hold on to other people's hate. You just can't. And you just have to know people out there are gonna hate you. Sometimes for totally irrational reasons. Sometimes for rational reasons, But you just have to let it go. Shake it off. Thanks for hating on me. Here I am shaking. Jim says, Derek, get your credentials to officiate marriages. No, that is Romaine's domain. Romaine likes marrying people. She's Rev Ro. If you want her to marry you, she's even more available now than ever. So if you pay her way, she'll probably fly out to wherever you are to marry you. So there you go. Insignificant says, morning, hot stuff. Good morning to you, too. Sorry I look so tired and ragged, but, Carrie says, let it go, let it go. Yes. Reflection says, I thought Romaine's domain was RomainePatterson.com. No, it's eatromaine.com. And Ryan says, can she marry people? Yes, she can marry people. Ian says, do you think this becomes the legacy of President Obama? I think it does in a lot of ways become the legacy of President Obama. And I'll make a comparison. When the Supreme Court ruled in Brown versus Board of Education in 1954, Eisenhower came out, because there were people who were upset about that, as you can imagine, in the South, as we saw the fights against segregation that went on for a long time, that there were people who fought against that. And Eisenhower said in a press conference, look, that's the Supreme Court's job. They ruled. It's my job as the president to follow that ruling by the Supreme Court. And that was a very important thing because, when one branch of government rules like this, like the Supreme Court rules, and the president backs it up, there's a lot, what it says to the rest of the country is it puts out a unified message. This is the country, this is where we're at, and here's where we're moving forward. And so, I certainly, Eisenhower was not directly tied to that ruling, Brown versus Board of Education, but Eisenhower supporting that ruling in that way, as blandly as he did, and it is, even still, he enforced that ruling. He worked to enforce that ruling. So that is really, really important because the Supreme Court doesn't operate in a vacuum. And it needs the rest of the government to comply when it rules. And in the case with marriage equality, because Obama came out in support of marriage equality before the last election and won, and now we have this ruling, this is the direction that things are going, I think that the Obama term as president will be remembered as a time of marriage equality. I think what's interesting is that my friend Brian Gianelli from XfinityTV.com said, so glad I was wrong. Going to be a great weekend. Look, here we go. Let's take a look. So everyone can see. So glad I was wrong. So anyway, we had a $1 bet. Brian, you owe me $1. Anyway, I know a lot of people felt like the Clinton years were like a great time to be gay because we had a president who was verbally supportive of gay people. Although, and even though he appointed a lot of openly gay people in his administration and personally liked gay people, Don't Ask, Don't Tell and the Defense of Marriage Act both came in under Clinton, and we had to spend the last 20 years undoing both of those things. So I think that Clinton will probably be remembered Bill Clinton will be remembered in more of a mixed bag than Obama, because, the first year or so of Obama's presidency, boy, were the gays all over him and cranky. They wanted action, and they wanted it fast, and they didn't want to wait. Justice delayed is justice denied. But, Obama is a really interesting politician because he just doesn't care. In this sense, he has a plan, and he is working his plan, and there's always daily noise in D.C., and he just rises above whatever the daily noise is and focuses on his plan. And sometimes it's not 100% clear where things are going with him or what his full plan is. But I have to say, after 6 years of seeing him as president, it gets pretty clear that when he says, you know what, I'm working on it, I got it, it's happening, I know you can't see it, but it's happening, I trust and believe that is the case inside of his presidency. So I know that a lot of gay activists were really upset, like the first 2 years of his presidency. But I think that, you know what, you have to look at the measure of the whole 8 years. And as of right now, he did the things that we wanted. Don't Ask, Don't Tell is gone. Marriage equality is here. He has forcefully stood up for protections for LGBT people, not just here, but around the world. That was a big part of Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State and her mission. And so I just have to say, there's still work to be done. There was a transgender activist who was at the Gay Pride celebration at the White House who shouted at the president, got escorted out. And the thing is, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, having this great marriage equality ruling, it's great for gays and lesbians, but it still leaves transgender people without a lot of legal protections. Mimi says, what's next? Transgender rights, gender equality in general. And this is something that a lot of people miss out on because, we talk about a lot about transgender rights, and sometimes it gets down to, like, the creepy right-wing, ooh, they want to be in your bathroom. Like, you know what, you can go to my bathroom right now, there's nobody there. But transgender rights are about gender equality. You know what, ask women in this country if there's gender equality, and they will tell you there is not. And transgender rights are wrapped up in gender equality. And so as far as I'm concerned, this is a great day for gays and lesbians, but we still have a lot of work to go in terms of gender identity, gender expression, and that makes the fight go on. Somebody asked about ENDA. I think that it will be great to have ENDA, but what we really need is a transgender inclusive ENDA, because I feel like with the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, with employment, that a lot of gay people, because this is a 14th Amendment ruling for gay people, that they are entitled to equal protection under the law, that federal courts, lower courts, will start ruling in favor of gay discrimination cases in employment and hiring and housing and all that kind of thing. Somebody just said race. Yes, there's not racial equality in this country too. Even after 60-something years, when was Brown versus Board of Education? 61 years ago. Even after 61 years of progress, there still is not racial equality in this country. So, it's great when you have these kinds of rulings, and I know people were celebrating in 1954. I'm sure that they knew that the road was going to be hard ahead. I don't know that they knew it was going to be as hard and as long as it ended up being, because it really was. But it's infinitely better in this country if you're black now than it was in 1954. It's infinitely better if you're black in this country now than it was in 1984. At Reagan's first inaugural, he had a performer in blackface, right? You know that, right? In 1981 at the inaugural. So things have changed a lot. And it's easy to get bogged down, especially today, the memorial service is going on in Charleston, a devastating attack. But I think in seeing the way that the country has rallied around the 9 people who were killed there, and are not rallying around the nut job who committed it, says that times have changed and that we have moved forward. And that's not to say that violence won't continue against black people, against gay people, against transgender people, against women, but every single step forward that we take is another step forward. And the quality of life for all of us improves every single day. And it's easy to get bogged down when something terrible happens, when a tragedy happens, or when, something like a wedding cake controversy blows up. Because it's easy to get caught up in these kinds of isolated incidents because they remind you that the work is not done. Which is, on a level, good, because it reminds us that we still have a fight to go. But it should also remind us how much better it is now and how much worse it was for the people who came before us. So I'm thrilled about the same-sex marriage ruling today at the U.S. Supreme Court. I know many of you are too. And there's more work ahead, for sure. So I think that if you want to put your time and effort somewhere, Matthew says, what do you think of Fox News' overreaction calling it an attack on religious freedom? Well, of course they're going to say that because it will get viewers and get their viewers excited. Here's the thing I have to say about religious freedom and being LGBT. There are religious people who are against gay people. There are whole religions that are against gay people. Gay people are not against religion. This is not the North and the South fighting it out, where there's 2 separate ideologies and they're both battling each other to see who will end up winning. This is a case of, I'm standing here minding my own business, and they're over here upset about me. And it's like, bitch, I didn't do anything to you, I'm not talking to you, and I don't care about you. I'm not in your business. I don't understand why you're in mine. So that's the difference. So when they say that gay people having a right to marriage is an attack on religious liberty, I don't understand that because it's not like gay people went to court for the right to buy your church for $1. We're not coming for you. You're coming for us, and you have been coming for us for decades, but we're not coming for you. Romaine says, how many gay people will lose their jobs when they report that they're married to HR? Well, this is the thing, is that some people will still be concerned about that, just like there are some people who are in the military who still prefer not to come out because even though Don't Ask, Don't Tell is gone, they're still concerned that there could be negative consequences no matter what. And that is entirely possible, but I think that because this is such a sweeping ruling from the Supreme Court, that people will discover that their marriages are protected, like in employment. Because actually the U.S., one of the things, if you notice, it says, will not discriminate based on race, gender, blah, blah, blah. Marital status is one of them, which means that married people, which includes gays and lesbians now, are federally protected under the class of marital status. And so that means for housing and employment, all of those things, marital status should be a non-issue. That would be a slam dunk case to go to court over. Now, there have been cases, for instance, of gay people who are teachers at like parochial schools who got married and then got fired. That is going to wind its way through the courts for sure, because that is a little bit dicier, and there have been issues around, what is a religious institution and how far can they discriminate. This Hobby Lobby case, it came out last year, right? Where they said that Hobby Lobby, as a private employer owned by religious people, could refuse to offer contraceptive coverage in their health coverage to their employees, basically saying that a private institution can have a religious point of view. I think that if you look at like a parochial school or a religious charity like a Salvation Army, for instance, they will be able to make their case for being able to discriminate against married gay people if they so choose. And that'll be an interesting legal fight for sure. And I don't know how that will go. All right, well, somebody pointed out my numbers are dropping off. I have been talking quite a long time. I know you all want to get out and celebrate and everything. I have filled my promise. I will also post this on YouTube so that people will be able to see it there. All right, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Derek Hartley. Find me everywhere. Type me into Google. I'm all over the place. Follow me on Twitter and like me on Facebook. I like you. I don't know why you don't like me. Romaine says, great job. Thank you, Romaine. That is lovely to hear. I'm glad you all enjoy this. And, oh God, now I just messed up my hair even worse. Oh, for crying out loud. All right, thanks for coming. I gotta go, climb back into bed or something. And put my pajamas back on. Actually, that's not true. I'm going into the city tonight. I'm having dinner with Mike and another friend of ours, Adam. And something tells me New York City is going to be crazy with gay pride this weekend. Tonight is going to be a mess because everyone's going to be freaking out. All right. Enjoy your celebrations wherever you are, and have a fantastic weekend, everyone. And keep following us. Oh, don't forget, if you're a Derek and Romaine fan, Romaine and I are doing a live video it'll be on YouTube and Google Hangouts on air live. This Sunday at 4 p.m., every Sunday at 4 p.m. for the next 4 weeks. So join us for that. It should be super, super fun. And we'll take your questions live. Just like this. Bye.